Fuck y'all niggas, man. I'm still cold stuck. You get in there, yes.
Fuck the Steelers, man. Fuck y'all niggas. Niggas know I'm still right.
Allegheny Elementary School, Allegheny Middle School, and Alderdice High School.
Imagine being at a funeral with 300 people. You're grieving, people are praying, hugging, and trying to hold it together. It's emotional but peaceful. And then out of nowhere, bullets start flying, 20 gunshots. That's what happened on October 28th, 2022, at Destiny of Faith Church in Pittsburgh. 6 people were hit. Blood on the church steps. A kid's shoe left behind. Even a horse, yeah, it got hit too. Now pause for a second. A horse gets hit at a funeral. That's not just wild, it's disturbing. But it gets worse. The family knew something could go down. They literally asked for police protection. 2 officers were supposed to be there. Guess where they were? 3 blocks away, at a different funeral home. So while bullets are flying and people are running for their lives, the cops are guarding the wrong spot. How does that even happen? This isn't one of those wrong place, wrong time stories. This was a funeral. People were there to say goodbye to someone they loved. And instead, they ended up ducking for cover and checking if their family made out alive. The church's live stream picked up the chaos screams, people diving under pews, just trying to survive. One of the victims was a teenager who had to be rushed to the hospital. Reverend Brenda Gregg, who runs the church, said it was one of the most devastating days of my life. And honestly, you could see why. So yeah, funerals are supposed to be about closure. But this one, it turned into something else entirely. Let's talk about the people who actually got hit. There were 6 of them, ages 66, 57, 27, 24, 20, and a teenager, all standing outside the church when the shots came. It's a miracle they all survived. Some were critical, but they pulled through. Still, that doesn't make this okay. Not even close. Because this wasn't random. Someone showed up with a plan to shoot up a funeral. That tells you everything you need to know. Paige Davis, John's godmother, came out afterward and said she was praying for the shooters, that they'd changed their lives. And I respect that. But let's be real, this wasn't just senseless. This was retaliation. This shooting was connected to something that went down 13 days earlier. And that's what we're getting into next. Because when someone gets killed in the streets, sometimes it doesn't end there. Sometimes it follows you all the way to your funeral. All right, let's back up for a second. Because that funeral shooting we just talked about, it didn't come out of nowhere. This whole thing actually started 13 days earlier, right on Pittsburgh's north side. And once you see how it kicked off, the rest starts to make a lot more sense. So October 13th, 2022, there's a house party going down on Federal Street. Just your usual stuff, music, drinks, people trying to unwind. But somewhere in that crowd, things get tense. John Hornezes Jr.'s crew ends up facing off with a group linked to Sharon Troutman. Nobody's exactly sure what sparked it. Maybe it was over money, maybe a girl, maybe just ego. But the vibe flips fast. By the next day, October 14th, it's all over social media. John posts a pic with his crew, throwing up hand signs and the caption "gone now" deleted. But the police would later find texts, IG stories, even posts like "see you at the spot." And someone drops a photo of a gun. That's not just for clout. That's a signal. And the spot they're talking about, it's a Sunoco gas station on Cedar Avenue. It's one of those places both groups hit regularly. Normal hangout, cameras everywhere. People probably assumed it was too public for anything crazy. But if you've ever seen the wrong post at the wrong time, you know how fast things can escalate. That's the problem with beef spilling online. Social media doesn't calm things down, it pours gas on it. Now, fast forward. October 15th, 2 days after the party. It's about 10 p.m. at that same Sunoco. People are out pumping gas, grabbing snacks. Betty Jean Averitt, 59, is there waiting for her bus. She's a grandma, 7 grandkids. And Jacqueline Mahalik, 33, is rushing past, probably trying to make it to work. They have no idea what's about to go down. Across the lot, John Hornezes Jr., Jalone Hines, and another guy are posted near West Park. They got guns. They're watching. Then a black Hyundai Tucson pulls in. Circles twice. Inside, Sharon Troutman, Samuel P., and another man with a weapon. And at 10:02 p.m., someone yells. It starts. 57 seconds of bullets. People start running, ducking, trying to figure out what's even happening. 23 shell casings hit the ground, 2 different calibers, which means both sides are shooting. When it's over, 3 people are dead. John Hornezes Jr. gets caught by return fire. He dies near a playground. There's a gun next to him. Betty Everett, shot at the bus stop. Jacqueline Mahalik, hit while walking by. Both women, totally innocent. Wrong place at the wrong time. Jalone Hines is shot in the leg, but survives. Another shooter from John's side escapes in a white Hyundai Palisade with Florida plates. Later on, Betty's daughter, Laura, said, "My soul is empty." And that hits. This wasn't just gang beef anymore. This took out people who had nothing to do with it. But the streets don't just sit with that. When someone like John dies in that kind of chaos, people start asking for payback. And that funeral at Destiny of Faith, that's where the answer showed up. The day after the Sunoco shooting wasn't just shaken, it was locked down. October 16th, 2022, the cops show up in full force. 50 detectives flood the area. They're pulling security footage from everywhere. Sunoco, Giant Eagle, traffic cams, even a Ring doorbell 2 blocks away. And it doesn't take long, they find the black Hyundai Tucson from the shooting. The license plate? It's tied to Samuel P. But here's what really stands out. The community starts talking. That almost never happens. Tips come pouring in, calls, texts, people saying things like, "I saw who was in that car," or "check this IG story." Why now? Maybe it's because 2 of the victims, Betty Everett and Jacqueline Mahalik, weren't involved in any of the drama. They were just regular people. A grandma, a mom, and something about that hit different. By the very next day, October 17th, police arrest Jalone Hines. He's still recovering from his leg wound at UPMC Presbyterian, but that doesn't stop them. He's charged with 2 counts of homicide for Betty and Jacqueline's deaths, plus conspiracy with John Hornezes Jr. Then on October 18th, U.S. Marshals tracked down Sharon Troutman. Ballistics confirm that Troutman's gun fired the shot that killed John. So yeah, law enforcement is moving fast. But the city? It's still tense. Because here's the thing. While police are connecting dots, Pittsburgh's people are still on edge. Mayor Ed Gainey steps up that same day, October 16th. He goes to the corner of Cedar and Stockton, the same spot where blood's still on the pavement, and publicly pleads, "I need you to speak up. Say something." And you can tell he's not just doing this for the cameras. He looks worried, like he knows this thing could spiral. Because when streets feel like they're not being heard, people don't always wait for justice. Now, let's bring this back to something we talked about earlier, John's funeral. His family is planning it during all of this, and they're scared. The threats are getting louder. People are texting warnings. Social media posts are popping up and getting deleted. Word on the street, that funeral is going to be a target. So what do? They go straight to the police. They ask for help. They want protection. And Pittsburgh Public Safety tells them, "We got you." They assign 2 officers to be at the church on October 28th. Sounds like it should have worked, right? But we already know how that ends. Because when the day actually came, those officers were nowhere near the church. And the family who begged for help was left on their own. We're not done yet. So here's where things totally fall apart. It's October 27th, 2022, the day before John Hornezes Jr.'s funeral. The family's nervous. Like we talked about, the threats are real. Texts, street talk, people warning that the funeral might be a hit. So they go to the city again and ask for police protection. Someone screws up the address. The cops were sent to a funeral home 3 blocks away from the actual church. 3 blocks might not sound like a lot, but in this case, it meant nobody was watching Destiny of Faith Church. And that brings us to the next day, October 28th. It's just past noon, the service is happening. 300 people packed inside. Prayers, gospel music, the whole room trying to honor John's life. Then boom, 20 gunshots. Right at the entrance. People scream. Some drop to the ground. Outside, 6 people are hit. ages ranging from a teenager to a 66-year-old. And the shooters? Police say it was 19-year-old Sean Davis and 16-year-old Hezekiah Nixon. Coordinated, deliberate. Nixon even tries to ditch the gun in the river afterward. Remember Reverend Dr. Brenda Gregg from earlier? The woman leading the church? She called this one of the most devastating days of my life. And she still showed up, still opened the doors. That's strength. But the police? They flat out dropped the ball. Acting Chief Thomas Stangrecki came out later and admitted the address screw-up was totally unacceptable. They launched an internal investigation, but come on. This wasn't a mix-up about parking. This was a funeral they knew could be attacked. And they still got it wrong. How does that even happen? Later that same day, October 28th, police moved quick. They tracked Davis and Nixon to McKees Rocks Bridge and arrest them. The charges are serious. Attempted homicide, aggravated assault, weapons charges. Nixon's also hit with tampering evidence for allegedly tossing the gun. And yeah, he's even charged with cruelty to animals because that funeral horse got grazed by a bullet. You can't make this stuff up. But just when you think it's wrapping up, it gets even messy. By December, Nixon's facing another homicide charge, completely separate. And in January 2023, those original homicide charges against Sharon Troutman and Samuel P. from the Sunoco shootout we covered dropped. They still face conspiracy and weapons charges, but not murder. So yeah, people got arrested. Some charges stuck, others didn't. And the streets? Still tense, still watching, and still hurting. Because if we're being real, every one of these shootings just sets up the next one. It's a cycle. Revenge, retaliation, repeat. And that brings up the real question. Does locking people up actually stop any of this? Or is it just a band-aid over a way deeper wound? Drop your thoughts in the comments because we need to talk about what it really takes to break this cycle. All right, so here we are, final part of the story. We've talked about the shootouts, the warnings, the failures, the arrests. But this part? This is about what's left when all the noise fades. Because Pittsburgh's North Side isn't just another backdrop to a crime story. It's a community that's still carrying the weight of what happened. Let's start with Cedar Avenue. If you walk through there today, you'll see memorials for Betty Averitt and Jacqueline Mahalik. Candles, flowers, photos taped to a wall. And they're not just decorations. They're reminders. Betty was a 59-year-old grandma, just waiting for her bus. Jacqueline was a 33-year-old mom, rushing to make her night shift. They were just there, and now they're gone. Jacqueline's mom said it best. Her children will live without her. That line sticks with you, because it's not just a moment of violence. It's a life-altering aftermath for people who didn't even know any of the guys with guns. By the end of October 2022, Pittsburgh had already matched the entire homicide count of the previous year. And stories like this one, turf wars, retaliation, are a big part of that. Police carrying John Hornezes Jr. as casket out of Destiny of Faith Church, while 6 people are bleeding outside. That's what people remember. A funeral meant to bring closure ended with more trauma. And now the city's left asking, how do you even begin to heal from that? After all this, some people are still trying to move things forward. Mayor Ed Gainey's been out there, showing up where the blood was spilled, telling the city, this has to stop. He's not just doing press conferences, he's begging for the cycle to break. And Reverend Dr. Brenda Gregg, who we've heard from, isn't backing down either. Even after the funeral shooting at her church, she's still pushing for solutions. Still trying to rebuild trust between the community and the police. Destiny of Faith Church actually got approved for a federal security grant after the shooting. Something to help keep people safer in the future. But let's be real for a second. Even with the arrests, like Sean Davis and Hezekiah Nixon, even with dropped charges against Troutman and P still hanging in the air, you gotta wonder, does any of that actually stop the next shooting? Or is it just a temporary pause until something else sparks off again? Because if you've been following this whole story, you've seen it by now. It's not just about guns. It's about pride, fear, silence, and a system that keeps dropping the ball when it matters most. So I'll leave you with this. What's it really going to take to end this cycle, for real? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you've stayed with us through this whole story, I appreciate you. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share this video if you want to help keep the names of Betty, Jacqueline and John alive, not as victims, but as reminders of why things have to change.